Yeah, so this is the landing page for Forest. We're going to start off with creating an account. And this is just a one page, kind of a standard. I'm just going to scroll down so you can see it, but we'll fill it out. Standard form to fill out your information. And I'll just fill it out for me. And it does give you friendly reminders, as you can see down at the bottom here, how we want the phone number filled out. If you're a licensed forester, you put it in here, your license number. Then you'll put in your email address that you're going to use to log into Forest. So our Gmail wouldn't let me create a shorter email address. And then the password you want to set up has to meet all these requirements. This is just part of the state of Maine security requirements.
Greg, I'm just going to jump in.
Sure.
So for people who perhaps didn't notice it, but what Greg did there was create basically a new Gmail address specifically for use in demos. So the process for setting up a new or unique Gmail email address is pretty straightforward and pretty simple. And now he's using that sort of not fake, but sort of demo email address to create this new account.
Yeah, and as you probably saw, I was stumbling over the password, and it does kind of give you information on how you're doing on putting one in. So once you got your password in and they, both versions match, just put in your street address. Keeping it pretty generic here. And then there's the option if you have a different mailing address than the physical address, you put it in here, but for the demo, I'm just going to say they're the same. And then you would just click create an account. And you'll get a message here just saying, you're almost there. To go to your email account that you set up, you provided for creating the account to verify. So what I'll do is I'll go over to my email here. It might take a second to start up. So this is my email account that I provided to set up my Forest account, and the email is here. It's a confirmation saying, okay, you've set up an account on Forest. We've received the request. This is to activate it. Earlier, Morton mentioned the Forest ID, user ID. It is provided here in the email. And this is something you want to keep track of because you'll need it if you are a party in a notification that somebody else is filling out for you. You would provide them this forest ID. Then I'm just going to jump over here and click OK. So we're out of forest, so you can see what's going to happen. And then there's this link here to activate the account. This is going to take you back to forest, and you're going to want to put in that email address that you put in previously when you were setting up your account. And also the password that you provided when you were setting up your account. And now you've logged into Forest. Just to more covered briefly that this is your dashboard. The upper right-hand corner tells you who you're signed in as and also your Forest ID number. And this information will be present on all pages in Forest, so you'll be able to find it. Are there any questions at this point? Mort, I can't see the chat while I'm sharing my screen, so if there's any.
Yep, no questions at this stage.
Okay.
Yep, we're all set. I'm continuing in a monitor.
Okay, thank you. So just this is a dashboard. Like Mort mentioned earlier, there's two sections. There's my pending notifications, and this would be ones where you would be currently working on notifications, but you haven't. They haven't been certified and been issued a notification number. And below that is your active notifications. These are ones that you've done the whole process, submitted it, you've gotten a notification number, and they would be listed down here. And in both situations, there would be sort of in the right-hand side of these lists, links to go to those notifications, either to review the summary if it's an active notification, or above where you could actually go and work on one that hasn't been sent out for certification by other parties. But for now, we'll create one. There's a button right here, create notification. Click on it, and it's going to take you to the first page of the process. And you'll notice along the top here, there's sort of the guide, the steps you'll take to complete a notification. First one here is overview. And we're going to fill this out as if I'm a designated agent. And I'll point out also that in certain questions or possible answers, there are these little information icons. So if you hover over them, it'll give you some more information or further explanation of what that question or possible answer could be. So I've selected I'm a designated agent. Next part is operation schedule, and you'll just select your start date of your activity. And what it's going to do is automatically set it for 2 years. That's the maximum time a notification can be active. If at some point the activity ends sooner, you can indicate that on your landowner report, and it'll close it out sooner than the full 2 years. The next section is the property details, where you'll pick the town. We're going to pick Addison. And then you want to put in the nearest all-weather road, the number of acres in the parcel, and then the question about if the parcel was purchased within the past 5 years. And I'll check off no. I think like Mort mentioned earlier, there aren't any new questions in here. These are all questions that are currently on the paper form. Is there any questions on the overview section?
Just a quick question about using the forester button and the notion that if you wanted to, you could identify yourself as the designated agent and a licensed forester. Your account is not set up as an account with a license connected. Right. It was grayed out because when the account was set up, he didn't enter himself. He didn't enter a license number. He did not indicate that he was a licensed forester. So you can, if your account is set up where you are a licensed forester, then you would have that option available to you.
Yes. Yep. All right. So everything is complete on this page. So the next button is activated. So you can click on it to go to the mapping. And this is going to bring it brings you to sort of at a little bit higher level, but the town that you selected, in this case it was Addison, is in the center of the map. And like other mapping tools, you can zoom in and move around. And you'll notice as we zoom in, Addison is a statewide standard town, and you'll zoom into a certain level, and then the statewide standard information starts being displayed here. And just some quick navigation here. There's this button that looks like 3 little layers on it. You click on that, it's going to allow you to either, right now by default, it's on the topo map, but you can change it to imagery to help you kind of get to where you want to put your activities. There's also, if we're an LUPC town, it would display the different sub-districts or zones there are, and there are quite a few. And then it also will identify in the statewide standard towns those different features also. Then you can close this little menu by clicking back on those 3 trays. And then if you want to zoom in a little bit further to draw your activities, and we'll just start with a harvest. And like Mort mentioned, it's digitizing, so to start, you just click once and draw your rough outline of your harvest. And you'll notice that as I'm drawing, it's calculating acres on the fly to give you kind of an idea of what size your harvest is going to be.
Greg, just a quick question.
Sure.
Do you know what year the imagery is?
Just a second, I can probably find that. Let me just, so to end the drawing, just double click on it, and it allows you to move your mouse around. I think this info button gives you a little bit of information, but does not give the date. I don't know, Greg Miller is on here. I don't know if he has any additional insight on.
We can find out. We
Yeah,
can find out.
I think it's whatever data is available through ArcGIS Online. So it's going to probably be the most recent that's out there. Because Esri tries to keep this stuff current, and it goes from Esri and Google and all different places to go ahead, and you saw the list of the names of imagery. It's all over.
Yep.
Okay, well, we can try to confirm that later.
Yep. And I'll point out here to the left, there's a little bit of, kind of instructions on how to draw your harvest area. We have, you'll notice there's these points here where I drew, and you can either click and drag if you need to move something, but you can also add. You'll see there's a kind of a floating dot here. You can click on that, and it gives you another point where you can drag and just fine tune your harvest. And you can continue to kind of tweak it as long as you haven't clicked the save button down here. And this sort of the bottom half of the section here lists out all the different activities that are being drawn on the map. So right now there's just this one harvest. And once I click save, it'll kind of lock that harvest in place. And you'll notice the dots are gone, so I can't adjust this anymore. The only thing I could do would actually be to delete it and start over. Let's see, and you'll notice that it calculated the acres and displayed it down here. Each activity has an ID. So number 1 goes with the map element number 1 here. To draw a road, you'd click on the road construction button. Again, it'll give you some instructions on how to draw a road. And similarly, you just start wherever you want the road to begin, click once and drag, and you'll see it's calculating the number of feet that are being drawn. And again, to end it, you just double click. And again, you can change the dot, change it, and add a new one to fine tune it. And similar to the harvest, you can change that as long as you haven't hit the save button. With the road, there is a question about if it's a permanent or temporary one. For this example, we'll just say it's a permanent road. And then you click save. And it saves that road. It's the second activity, which is number 2. And then we can add a water crossing. Click the water crossing button. And again, there's instructions to the left on how to put a water crossing in. So you just basically drop a point, click once, and it'll put the point where you think you want it. Again, you can still move this by clicking and dragging. You can move that to wherever you need to put it. There are 2 questions with water crossings, whether it's a temporary or permanent crossing, and then whether it's a crossing for a road or a skid trail. And again, you can still, even after answering these questions, you can still go up here and click and move this to wherever you need to do. And then you click save to basically lock that into where you want it. And if that's wrong, then you could go back and click the delete button. And just to show, you can add multiple elements here. I'm just going to quickly draw a different harvest. So that's, activity ID number 4. And again, you can do everything you can with the previous one, move it around, adjust it. And you click save to lock it in. And you can add multiple roads and water crossings just the same. And then, just to show you how to, you just hit delete and it'll remove, it'll prompt you to make sure, okay, you really want to delete, harvest number 4 or it's activity number 4, which is a harvest. And just click yes, and it'll remove it from the map. So that is how you would draw your activities on the map. Is there any questions? All right. So like Mort mentioned, the next section is called activity details. Along the top here, this path, the next step is activity details. And this is going to present you with questions based on the your activities you mapped. And there's, I think like you mentioned, there are some built-in checks. So back in the overview, I put in the parcel size of 250 acres, but I'm trying to say I'm going to cut 300, and those don't match up. So it's going to say you have to, change it to match the parcel size. The other option, is you can go back. Just to show you, you can't go forward yet because these sections aren't completed, but you can go back to the overview. And if you wanted to change something on this page, you could do that. But for now, we'll just continue on the activity details. Put in 100 acres are going to be harvested. And again, these are similar questions to what's on the paper form now. Is the land in tree growth, yes or no? More touched on this if the land is going to change use. I'll just show you. If you click yes, it's going to present you with two additional questions. The first one is the categories. We don't need to know if this is going to be a vegetable garden or a wheat field or whatever. We just need to, try to keep it simple and just pick what the option would be, and then the number of acres that would be changing use. But for this, we're just going to say there is none. And you'll notice that these clear-cut questions are present here now, and those are dynamically displayed. If you said I'm only doing a 10-acre harvest, those questions aren't being displayed. And likewise, if you say you're doing a 25-acre harvest, it's only going to show the question for if you're creating a clear-cut greater than 20 acres. So we'll say 100 acres harvest, and there will be no clear cuts. And you'll notice, when I first started, I didn't point it out, but because I went from this page back to the overview, it viewed all these questions as missing or unanswered. So there's all these little notices below each saying, hey, this you need to answer these questions. So again, you're going to be harvesting near water, yes or no? Are you going to be adding wood to the stream, which is consistent with Chapter 25? And I'll point out here, we've tried to present links where it's appropriate for additional information if somebody's filling this out and isn't quite sure what Chapter 25 rules are. If you click on that, it's going to open the Chapter 25 rules for you to further read. We'll say we aren't adding any wood. And then because this is a statewide standard town, you're presented with the three options here of what you're going to be doing. So we'll just pick 60 square feet basal area retention. And as we mentioned a few times now, there's some tweaks that need to be done in this, and this is one of probably the significant ones. So these questions, because this is Addison, an organized town, these questions should not be displayed. These are questions if you're doing activities in an LUPC area. So I just want to point out these won't be displaying in a typical organized town, but just so that we can move through the demo, I'm just going to say we're altering one square foot, and we're not going through a FEMA floodplain. But again, in an organized town, these questions you would not see them. You would see probably a message similar to this down here where there's water crossings, where basically it's saying, okay, you've indicated you're going to be doing some water crossings, and to review the requirements on the summary page. So that completes the activity details section. Are there any questions? All right, so moving right along, we'll click the next button to go to the contacts. And this is where you'll be putting in the landowner's last name and their forest ID. And we've done this to basically, we did not want to have everyone's names and contact information available to everyone. We wanted to make sure that whoever was seeing a person's information was somebody who was, participating or legitimately needs to see the information because they're going to be participating in a notification. So that's why, you need the last name and the forest ID, and then you would click this find landowner. And it's gonna, if it didn't find it, it would ask you to put in, double check your information and try again. In this situation, just for a demo, I've set up other, I'll call them test or dummy Gmail accounts for these demos. If you found that this wasn't the right person, you could remove them here. But for now, we'll just keep them as this is the right landowner. And then this is sort of bridging over to some of the landowner report requirements, but we have these two questions about how many acres a landowner owns in Maine, and then what is their ownership type. And again, there's these little information icons that will provide further information on what do we mean by a non-industrial land or private woodlot, as well as these other ownership types. Scrolling down, I started this notification as a designated agent, so my information is presented here. Then we also have to enter a harvester operator. Even though they both have the same name, the landowner and operator are different. Let's see, the forest ID for this. And you'll click Find Harvester Operator. And it'll list them here. Again, you can remove them if you need to. And then if you had a licensed forester involved, you could put them here as well with their last name and forest ID. So that finishes the contacts information page. Are there any questions? All right, move on to the summary page. And just a quick note here, if the notification is complete, certified, and been assigned a notification number, this would change to actually, I think in between where it says fawn summary, there'd be fawn number such and such summary, and the status would be changed from draft to active. The other statuses would be pending certification. That means that you've done your part and you've sent it out to other parties to acknowledge their participation in a notification. So this is just a page to review what you've already entered in these previous steps along the top here. The first part is the contacts. Remove landowner, designated agent, harvester, if there's a forester. And you'll notice at the end of the section, there's this marked as red. And you need to check that you've read this. And it closes that section up and continues you down through the reviewing. If you needed to review the section again, you would just uncheck this and it would display again. It's the same with all these sections here where you have a marked as red checkbox. The overview section, this first step here, This is the information you entered there. You can review it. If you see that there's an issue here that isn't right, you can go back to that section and correct it. That is the same for any of these steps. What happens is when you move off from the summary page to a previous section, the system will redisplay all the sections because it may not know what was changed if you went back. So you'll have to, recheck the marked as red boxes again for all the sections. After the overview is the map. This has the same functionality as the actual mapping page. The only thing different is you cannot add more activities, but you can. There's the 3 trays here. You can go in and change to imagery. You can move around. You can zoom in or zoom out. And below it, similar to the mapping page, is the list of activities. And when you're done with that, click mark as red. And then this is the activity details section. So this is just, again, looking over how you answered the questions in that section. And I'll point out again, this road construction activities, this is not going to be there in organized towns. You'll have a similar statement as the water crossings, which would say something like, there'll be road construction as part of this operation, and just review the requirements in the important reminder section, which is below. And you'll mark as red there. Then we also provide our staff contact information, a district forester or forest rangers. If you have further questions or concerns, click marked as red. And then this section is the important reminders. And it points out if you're, some kind of standard language here to, check with local ordinances, make sure you're familiar with all the rules and just, plan ahead. But then if there are specific reminders around each activity you're doing, they would be presented here. In this case, there's water crossing activity. So it says you're putting in a permanent water crossing in a statewide standard towns and to contact the Maine Forest Service. Then a link here to our contact us page, as well as additional information on what needs to be done. At some point in the future, it would be nice to have a link here that actually would, if you have to fill out an application or some other form, you'd be able to do it right in here as well. And then some general reminders of just different quarantines or critical wildlife habitat. Each of these are links, and it'll take you to our website for more information about each quarantine. And you'll notice at the end here, there's a Certify button that's grayed out. That's grayed out until you've checked marked as red on all of the sections. And again, note here that if you need to review any of these, you can uncheck it and look at it again. For now, we'll click Certify. And you're presented with, in this situation with a designated agent, 3 more sort of acknowledgements to check. Basically, the first one is I'm a designated agent. I certify that all answers to the questions are correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. And I'll just jump down here just a second, then you'll notice this acknowledge and certify button is grayed out right now. You can cancel and go back and do whatever you need to adjust the notification if you want. But for now, we'll just keep going down through here. The second one is as an acknowledgement that you're the designated agent and the landowner is going to sign into force and certify that you're the designated agent and give responsibilities for all operations described in this notification. And then the last one is basically you're just acknowledging that there are other parties that need to certify their participation in this notification before it becomes active. But once all of the other parties have certified, the notification is automatically submitted and a notification number is generated, and that you're going to follow, any of the other important reminders on this notification. And once you've checked that last box, acknowledge and certify becomes active. And once you've clicked that, you can't go back and edit individual parts of the notification. You'll see in a second that there is you can withdraw the notification, meaning you don't want the other parties to certify. You still have work to do on the notification. But as of right now, nothing has been sent to the other parties on a notification. So if you click cancel now, no emails are sent, and you can still tweak the notification as you need to. But for now, we'll click acknowledge and certify. And you'll just get a notice here saying that it's certified and that there's, others need to certify their participation. And it's no longer, the font is no longer editable unless you choose to withdraw the font. So you click OK. Then you're back at the font summary page. The status is changed to pending certification, and you do have the option of withdrawing the notification. I'm going to pause right there. Kind of feel like there was a lot covered right there, but is there any questions?
Greg, there's been some good exchange in the chat. I don't know that there are specific questions related to the process. Just
okay.
Suggestions about having additional live links to go to the rules and regulations page or to the PBR information page and so forth.
Okay.
I don't see anything else in the chat at this stage.
Okay.
The one question did come up that when the system is going to be ready, and I guess the plan is to go live on January 1st. I think I heard you say that it might be available even before that, and that it is possible to set up. It will be possible to set up accounts, possibly even before that. Is that correct?
It is. It's looking more and more like probably January 1st would be the most realistic time.
Okay.
And while I'm thinking of it, if there's anybody out there, I'm thinking maybe there were some on here now that I actually sent a link to this test, the development version of Forest. If anybody's interested in just trying it out, nothing you do is official, but it'll give you a good feel for how to do things in here. I'm more than willing to send you a link to it. Just shoot me an email, and I'll be glad to do that. So for now, this notification, like I said, is pending certification. That means that I'm the designated agent, so I'm waiting for the landowner and the harvester operator to certify their participation in this notification. So I will show you what that kind of looks and feels like. I'm going to sign out of Forest now. I'm signed in as Greg Lord with this Forest ID. I'm going to sign out. And I'm going to go over to the landowner's email account. And in there is this new email. It says there's a Forest Fawn pending certification. The landowner's name would be here, the town. And it basically just says, hey, there was a notification created by Greg Lord in this tool. It's currently pending certification until all participants have certified. You've been identified as a landowner. You must certify that the information is correct and you understand the responsibilities. And so it just says, you need to sign into Forest and certify your involvement. There's also some additional information here about the notification to kind of give you an understanding of, is this something you were expecting to see or not? I will say that this email, we do have a request in to sort of change this up a little bit, just so it's a little bit clearer, easier to read and understand for people. So this will look a little bit different when it comes time for the production version. But at the very end, there's a link here to certify your involvement with this fawn. So when you click on this, it's going to take you to Forest. And let me just double check, make sure I'm signed out. I am. So when I click on this link, I'm prompted to log into Forest. And this is as the landowner, so you're going to be using a different email address.
In this case, Greg is using a different email address. If you were playing multiple roles, you'd be under the same account.
Right, yeah, you'd be using your email address that you have for your account. And I should point out, if you forgot your password, there's an option to reset it here, but you'll sign in. And it's going to take you, because you clicked on that link in the email, it's going to take you directly to this summary page for this specific notification for you to certify. I'll point out, if you want to decline, you can click decline here. And then the designated agent would, have the opportunity to readjust the notification and recertify and send it out. But this looks very similar to what I did as a designated agent. As a landowner, you would review the exact same information they had. Click marked as red for each part. And map works the same for everyone. On the summary page, you can change it to imagery if you want to. And it lists out the different activities you're going to be doing. Click marked as red. Activity details. Just what's been stated on the notification to review. Marked as red. And if you have questions for the Forest Service, you can ask them, contact information is here. And then you would see the exact same reminders as a designated agent. And the same links for general reminders as well. Again, can't certify yet until you've marked all as red. Then you're click certify and you're sort of presented with the similar 3 statements. You're the landowner and all the questions have been answered to the best of your knowledge and belief. As a landowner, you understand that you've named a designated agent and give them responsibilities. And then similarly, understand that there are other parties that need to certify their participation before this will become active. And again, you could cancel here, decline it if you wanted to. But as the landowner, you don't have an opportunity to go and change any of the answers. It would be the designated agent in this situation who started the notification that would be the one that could change things on a notification if it was either declined or the designated agent themselves withdrew the fawn. But for now, we're saying we agree with everything and we're going to acknowledge and certify. and you've notice saying you've certified it, and waiting for the other contacts to certify their participation in it. And I should have pointed out, I don't think I did, is that I was signed in as the landowner with this forest ID account number. So the last party to certify their participation is the harvester operator. So I'm going to sign out of forest as the landowner. And then I'm going to go to the harvester operator email. And again, very similar email is presented to them. Landowner in Addison has some activity. Greg Lord has created a notification. It's pending certification, and this person here reading the email has been identified as the harvester operator on this pond, and that you must certify that the information on the notification is correct, and you certify your participation in it. Again, same information here, a little bit more on the notification to help you understand if this is something you expected or not. And again, the link to certify your involvement is right there. You'll click on it. It takes you to Forest, and you log in with your email address that's assigned with your Forest account and the password. And again, like the landowner, it's going to take you right to that certification. That summary page for that notification, and you'll see that 2 others have already certified their participation. Up at the top right, I'm now logged in as the operator or harvester with this forest ID. Again, you can decline if you don't want to participate. Otherwise, you would just, like the other 2, the designated agent and landowner, you just go through, review, marked as read. Similar to the map, all the same functionality. Marked as read. The activities details for this notification. And again, if there's something that doesn't look right on here, either contact the designated agent landowner for clarification, or decline participation in this notification. Marked as read. Forest Service contact information. And exact same important reminders as the other 2, the landowner and designated agent saw. And then general reminders to other information, quarantine and wildlife. Again, Certify isn't active until you have marked red on all of them. Click Certify. And in this case, there's only 2 things. You just need to say I'm the harvester operator, and I certify that the questions are correct to the best of your knowledge and belief, and that in this situation, just the way this worked, this is the last party to certify their participation in a notification, but the notice here would indicate that there might be others, but basically you're just saying, okay, it's until everyone's certified their participation, notification number isn't generated yet. But in this situation, at this point, the designated agent still has the opportunity to withdraw the notification and edit it as they see fit. Once, as the last party to certify their participation, once I click acknowledge and certify here, that notification is no longer available to be edited. It will become an active notification, and you'll see in a second here, it becomes active and has been assigned a notification number. And so we'll click acknowledge and certify. And you'll get the notice here saying, it's been certified and it's been submitted to the Forest Service and is now active. So click OK. You're still on the summary page, but there's a little bit more here now. There is the notification number is right here. Whoops. And the status is changed to active. And there's this button here to print posting. Click on it. And this is going to look sort of similar to existing postings. Has the number, the end date, and when it was submitted to the Forest Service on there. And it can be printed out as many times as you need it. And then there's some information here related to landowner reports. This would be the next step in the process. Right now, we haven't met the December 8th time to turn this on, but when you get to that date, there would be a button here to go and complete the landowner report. Because we aren't starting the notification process in Forest until January 1st, we're going to hold off on sort of the demos for filling out a landowner report until either the spring or summer, just so it's a little bit closer to the time when people will need to know and understand how to go through the landowner report process in Forest. Are there any questions? That really kind of covers the demo. I do have one more thing to show, but I will take any questions right now.
Greg, again, we've been addressing a few questions in the chat, and I think they're fairly straightforward. The email goes out pretty much automatically and should, in most instances, be received within a few minutes, if not even a few seconds, as just happened in the demo.
Yep.
The 2-year time frame still applies for notifications. There's also a question about salmon habitat and how those notices are generated, and essentially they're generated from a list of towns, not from actual habitat locations. So it's just a reminder that there's salmon habitat somewhere in the town that's where the notification occurs, just as a reminder to folks to be aware of that. Mm-hmm. I think that's all and yes, the notification is now a 7-digit number, no longer a 6-digit number.
Right.
So I think that's all of the comments and questions that I see at this point.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll since we're on this summary page, you've previous to certification, there was these marked as red, but you can still go down through here at any time and look at what's been provided on this notification. So you can still go in here. The map is still available to look at, to zoom, to move around, as well as all the information that was filled out on the notification. All the links are still here to go to the different parts. So, this is still sort of, I guess, a resource if you need to review something on a notification, specific one. There's still the links and everything are still here to go to the different sections. The one thing I did want to show, well, actually 2 things now. I'll go back to the dashboard because when I first showed it, there was nothing there. But in this situation, I'm still logged in as the harvester operator. So I have 3 different, under my pending notifications, there aren't anything coming up, but for my active ones, I have 3 here. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a link to each of them. And this will take you to the summary page where you can, again, look at the details of a notification. The other one is my profile. And this is where you can go in and you can edit your information that you provided. If you didn't have a license number, you can put that in here now. If you changed your mailing address, you can put it in here and then click update my profile, and that will update it in our system here. So those were the two items. And then there's contact us, which is just our email and phone number. If you're in here and get frustrated or stuck. That's all I have. Again, if anybody wants to take it for a test drive, just as a get familiar with it before it goes live, I'm more than willing to send the link out to anybody for you to try it out.
And then mentioned on the map page, on the table of contents there, you also have the option to show the wildlife features.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. And I can, on the summary page is the same. So down at the bottom here, there's this wildlife box. If you check that, it's going to show you lynx and salmon habitat where it's mapped. Thank you, Greg. That's all I have. Again, I'm willing to go over anything if people have specific questions. Again, shoot me email if you have suggestions or thoughts on different ways of doing things for us. We can definitely consider them.
Greg, I think it might be useful for some folks who want to explore this a little further if following the presentation you can send out that link to the, I guess, the demo version so people can look at it.
Sure. Yep.
There was a question about future plans and so forth, and I think I'm right in saying that there are lots of ideas and possibilities to build this system out, but there is not a concrete plan to move ahead with those. We'll finalize this, and we still need to secure funding and set priorities for the future. So that's pretty much conceptual at this point.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And George just asked about, so if you do the work in the test environment or the demo version, there won't be any accounts carried forward to the production. So you would have to set up a new account when the time comes in the production version. It took a couple minutes to do it. But just understand that you would have to do it again in the production version. And then when the production version is available, we'll send it out through our different email lists or bulletins to people to let them know. And again, we're doing these. Our next session will be on December 16th. Same presentation. We'll do an overview and a demo, and then the plan is to do it. We'll take a little bit of a break over the holidays, but beginning in January, it's every other Wednesday at 8 a.m. We'll be doing it, but we'll be sending out those specific notices on our email bulletins. If there aren't any other questions, I'm all set here. And I thank you all for attending, and I hope it was helpful. And look forward to any suggestions or input you have on this. And again, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Yes, yes, Mitch. The paper landowner reports actually will be for any paper notifications. We'll still be using paper landowner reports, so they'll still be landowner reports for the next 2 years, based on active paper notifications up until the end of March 2021. So, yeah, that's the plan right now. All right. Thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for attending.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Mort.
Thanks, everyone.